I'm Dennis Anderson along with Julie Zenner. Here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
Are you an entrepreneur with a great idea for a new business? The West Duluth Business Club wants to hear from you.
Glensheen Mansion has been fascinating visitors for years, and there's even more reason now to visit with new tours and a brand new book on the early days of the Duluth landmark.
Also tonight we'll have the week's business news and a news file story from 25 years ago.
So don't go away. Almanac North is next. Almanac North, thank you very much for watching. It's really starting to feel like summer now, Julie.
It is indeed. Good weekend to be out at the cabin or on the lake.
I suspect there'll be a lot of folks getting wet this weekend, and not by rain.
I think there will be as well.
All right, thank you much. Good topics. Let's introduce our first guest.
All right, thank you, Denny, and welcome everyone. The West Duluth Business Club has put out the welcome sign to potential new businesses. The club is considering creating a business incubator to help entrepreneurs get their concepts off the ground. And they want to hear about your ideas by the end of the month. Joining us with more on the incubator is Charlie Stauduhar, past president of the West Duluth Business Club and owner of the Spirit Lake Marina. And welcome. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks very much. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak about West Duluth and the West Duluth Business Club.
What spurred the idea to get an incubator started?
You know, there's been a lot of activity in the western part of town. I'm sure most of you have heard about it, and the mayor's initiative for the St. Louis River Corridor.
No, I haven't heard.
No. Well, welcome.
Welcome.
You know, West Duluth is the second largest retail district in the city of Duluth, next to the Miller Hill Mall. We have some vacant spaces in West Duluth. West Duluth has had a bum rap, I think, for many, many years, since the 70s, the closing of the steel plant, the Atlas cement plant. There's a group now that's, we saw the need, the opportunity, and we thought, let's find out what the needs of the community are. Let's do some calling around, see how we can find out who's looking for what.
You call it a business incubator. What is it?
Well, an incubator, Dennis, is it could be anything from a building, but it's basically a space or an opportunity to help entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs, start their business. It could be anything from a low-income space, mentoring, connecting with partners throughout the city, such as UMD Center for Economic Development, helping people write business plans. For instance, a common theme would be a business or a building where many small businesses starting out could have a low or a reduced rent to help them get off the ground, and then after a year or two they would transition to market rate facilities.
Now, do you have some of those economic development partners in the city who are interested in working with you on this?
We've been working with a few of them. No set agreements have been made, but we're very actively working with the UMD Center for Economic Development, the Duluth Entrepreneur Fund, the City of Duluth, Northspan. There's many resources here in the community that are there to help new businesses and people establish themselves here in our community.
What can the West Duluth Business Club do to inspire people to take a look at West Duluth, to build their business and to grow their business?
Well, I think one of the first things is, just pay attention to the news, like we were talking about, is all of the things that are going on in West Duluth and the corridor, the St. Louis River Corridor. And come on out and spend some time in West Duluth, visit with some of the other business owners, people that have been established there for a long time. People are very what do I want to say? They're very proud of their West Duluth heritage and being in West Duluth. There's a lot of pride there.
What are some of the strengths of the business community itself that would be attractive to new or businesses that would like to come in?
Sure. The West Duluth Business Club actually has been in existence since 1902. It started out as the West Duluth Commercial Club. And so it has that long history. And right now we have a strong membership of over 100 members. And we have meetings on twice a month at Mr. D's. And we always have speakers, engaging speakers from the community that come and talk about either, business development, not necessarily starting a business, but, things that are germane to the business community or business owners. So.
Say tonight somebody is watching this program and they're saying to themselves, I want to start a business and I'd like to start it in West Duluth. What's the first thing they should do?
We have a new email address just for this particular program. It's gowestduluth@gmail.com, gowestduluth@gmail.com. So we're looking for people to email us, basically with their name and maybe just a short synopsis of what they're thinking about. And a member of our business development team will get in contact with them.
Would you sit down with that person then and talk about it?
Absolutely. We will sit down and find out where they are in their own development process. One of the first things anybody has to do is have a business plan. So we need to find that out first.
Now in a business incubator like this, would it typically be similar businesses that would work together and create some sort of synergy, or could they be businesses that are very, very different? Maybe one's food service, one's light manufacturing, right. One's retail.
Ideally it would be just great if we had like a half a dozen like businesses that say, geez, West Duluth sounds like a great place to be. We would love to set up shop here. That would make our life a lot easier to help them get going. We could find, definitely we could probably get the city on board to help with something like that if we had those things. But chances are it's going to be a mix of different things. And so if we had all of a sudden maybe 2 or 3 people that were looking for light manufacturing, well, there's plenty of that kind of space available in West Duluth along the waterfront. We could help them set up there. A new business in West Duluth is Lull Designs, the maker of Epicurean products. They've set up a great new manufacturing plant in West Duluth, and we're happy to have them.
Is there any kind of city government help, Charlie, that could help a young entrepreneur who would like to set up a business in West Duluth?
That's a tricky question for sure. And, you see Elaine Hansen from the Center for Economic Development. She's on TV advertising her business, and she says one of the myths out there is that there's free money for businesses starting up. And that's basically true, but there's lots of help and there's lots of resources in other ways. And if we can get an incubator off the ground, maybe it could be some low rent for a number of years. So,
as a business owner and member of the business club, I imagine you have a pretty good sense of what's out there and what might be needed in the community, or what kinds of businesses might fill some gaps that currently exist. Any that you would really like, types of businesses that you'd like to see get started out there?
One of the things that continually comes up when we talk about this incubator and the process is commercial kitchens. There's a lack of commercial kitchen space here in town for people that wanting to, maybe test market their new jams, or who knows, spaghetti sauce, whatever the case may be, if they're a caterer or a sweet shop. But people are calling all the time, I have been told, looking for commercial kitchen space. There's a lack of that in the community. So
there's a business opportunity in commercial kitchen space.
Definitely is. That would be one of the things that's kind of a high investment, and but if there's enough people interested, it could be done.
So you've put out this call for businesses that are interested and have given them until the end of the month, I understand, to approach you. What kind of response have you had so far? Our
inbox has been fairly busy. there's enough people out there, actually, at this point in time, they're looking for retail space. And retail isn't necessarily the type of things that we can, in an incubator setting, oftentimes they might be off to the side or not in a traditional retail area. And so that doesn't necessarily work. Retail businesses are nice, and we would love to help them get started, and we can help get them into some retail space, get them connected, help them with their business plan, that kind of thing. And one of our partners who isn't here today, Bill McGiffert, is the one that's answering most of the emails and setting up appointments for us to sit down and visit with these people.
Are there some empty storefronts that need filling?
Oh, always, yes. There's always a turnover, and we love to see them full. And I think it's going to happen with all of the excitement around West Duluth and the activities. So we would love to see some maybe manufacturing that are maybe some along the bike or the hiking or the water trails systems, somebody building paddle boards or, a new style bike, or who knows what ideas are out there, and we would love to help them get going.
Great.
And what's your timeline?
We, towards the end of the month, we're going to evaluate all of our responses and visit with some of the partners that we've talked about and see what we can do to help them get going and hopefully get our incubator off the ground. So,
all the best.
Yes,
all right,
thank
we'll
you.
have that website information up. Thank you very much, Charlie.
Wonderful,
for coming
thank
in.
you. I
Charlie.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good job.
Now, let's dig into our news file archive for a look at what was making news 25 years ago this week.
I saw myself on TV. Is the sound when it's other people are talking? Oh.
What's the best way to describe Playfront? Ask an expert.
Rad.
What does rad mean?
Cool.
Why was it so cool?
Well, it's kind of like a kid's paradise.
Paradise was filled today with children trying their wings and their swings. Finding the mazes amazing.
I made this because you can just run around in them and play.
And never tiring of the tires.
Hey, I'm coming down! I'm coming!
Learning why slides aren't called climbs.
It's so big and other playgrounds are so small. So it seems like it's squeezed in. And there's towers and stuff, and that's not like the other playgrounds. It's really fun.
Most of these kids save their pennies to help build Playfront, either at home or through school. And now that it's finished, there's no doubt who's taken over at the wheel.
Okay, we're in a big storm right now.
At Playfront Park, Julie Zenner, KDLH News.
Well, the construction of Glensheen Mansion along the shore of Lake Superior in eastern Duluth was a labor of love for Chester and Clara Congdon. Chester made his fortune in the steel industry, and his mansion was built to the highest standard for the day. Now, for the past few decades, Glensheen has been open to the public and owned and managed by the University of Minnesota. Well, this month, a new book on the estate's first 25 years has been released, and new tour options are being offered at the mansion. Joining us with more is Tony Dierckins, author of Historic Glensheen, 1905 to 1930, and Dan Hartman is the director of Glensheen Mansion. We thank the two of you for being here. Tony, you had a bit of a stroke of luck. As you were writing this book or putting it together, all of a sudden the staff came up with all sorts of new pictures.
Well, the best part of the luck is we weren't even working on this book. we were working on another one. We've got a full color coffee table book we wanted to put out, and we were looking at it in December, and we weren't happy with the consistency of the photographs. So we decided to put it on hold and hire a local guy to shoot him. And I said, boy, Dan, I wish I had a book to put out this spring. And he said, yeah, I wish you had a book to put out for us.
And here come the photos.
So I said, what about some more historic? Do you have any more historic photos? Because we had some for the book. And they went, they knew they had some, but they found even more.
Wow.
And Dan can tell you about that.
Where'd you
It's
find them?
fascinating.
Well, actually, I would say it's almost a two-part problem. So we had all these great historic photos as we were putting this book together. And like, wouldn't it be great if we could just put a comprehensive book together of all these great historic photos of Glensheen? And so Tony had went through and actually did pretty much a first draft of that. And then in that process, Tony was coming back to see my review of his draft. And the day before, one of my staff members was going somewhere else in town, and she said, hey, Dan, I got some stuff in the closet. You want to check this out? And so I went into her room and looked at the closet. I'm like, what? And there's these 3 beautiful black and white photo albums from the turn of the century. And one of them was the early construction photos of the house.
Right, photos we think were taken by Edward Congdon, who, if you've been on the tour on the 3rd floor, his bedroom, the adjacent bathroom, had a dark room built into it.
What's it like to open up a book like that and be viewing these photos that really haven't been seen by anybody for decades?
It's kind of an event, frankly. When we open it up, the staff gathers, people come from different floors of the house, and we start looking at the album, and it's just something that, as you work at Glensheen, you kind of get into it. And so all the staff was really excited to see these photos that none of us had seen before.
And we do have some of those photos
Yeah,
available. So why don't the two of you just kind of walk through what we're seeing?
This is early. Construction's about a year into it now. You see the serpentine wall in the front. You're looking at the front of the house here.
Okay.
And if you can see the stack of bricks, you see in the center there, there's a gentleman standing there. You can see just how much the level of work that's going on there.
But you're only about halfway, you're at the end of the approach road. And so most visitors, this is the front of the house when you're driving by, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But just the material is impressive by itself.
And then here's the front of the house in about 1909, right after they first moved in. So this view hasn't been seen for so many years because of the way the trees and the landscaping has all grown up.
Due to some construction the last year, we've been able to actually reopen that again. And so it looks like that. Now this is Glensheen's famous breakfast room. I would love to point out, notice how there's not actually a lot of plants in this room. People come through this space and they really feel it's going to be filled with plants, but really they had very few. And these historic photographs really kind of highlight that pretty good.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites.
This is Robert's room. We just opened this room up for the very first time in 35 years. This room was filled with material from all over the place. And now there's these birds up on the top right, which we spent $18,000 to remove the latex so people could actually see the birds again. And they're an absolutely incredible sight.
They would have been stenciled on in 1908.
Yeah,
hand drawn. Yeah, this is one of my favorites. This is part of what's lost Glensheen, if you will. These are the greenhouses. They had 4 greenhouses, including this large one, the Palm House, which they grew bananas. There.
Think of the labor force they had working for.
Oh, incredible. And this was, you would imagine this was heated by coal heat. And the gardener had to continuously stoke that coal to keep it hot.
Bananas in Duluth is pretty incredible.
Pretty incredible. In 1910? Yeah, I would think so.
Wow.
This is kind of that Clara era, and you can really notice how the grounds are really grown up now. But I love, it's hard to see, but the backside of that fountain, those are Excalibur delphiniums, which were perennials for nearly 80 years.
Yeah, just great stuff. This is Jim Roper. Came from England.
The chauffeur?
Yeah, well, the coachman.
The coachman.
The chauffeur, at one point the butler.
I see.
And yeah, he made his way through the Congdon system, and here he is. We have other photos in the book of him standing between 2 automobiles from the same time, because you have to remember, Glensheen's, the carriage house, had for automobiles as well.
So one of my favorite spots is actually down by the lake, and this original shot of the boathouse. Notice how there's no beach rock in the way of the boathouse now, and the boat is the Hesperia, named after Claire's middle name, Claire Hesperia, Bannister Congdon. And also notice how long the pier is.
Right, part of that Smith thing. This, I always think this is the Stone Arch Bridge as you're coming up Chester Creek here. It's one of the features that's unchanged, of course, in the exterior today, because the bridge is still standing, and it's just one of the more remarkable parts of this wonderful landscaping that they did.
How many acres is that?
Originally 22, now it's 7.
7 now.
Now, most of the new photos, are they the facility and the grounds, or are they people? Are there people shots too?
These we're limiting we wanted to show the house, the estate, and everything. There's a few shots of people, but we want to be able to tell the story of those people thoroughly and completely before we put them in the book. We wouldn't have been able to do them justice, as it were, today. So, like I said, the book we're working on for next year will be as if you're taking the tour. And then you're going to get to know the family as a whole, as individuals, their whole backstory, everything.
The neat thing about this mansion, Glensheen is a huge house, 39 rooms.
39 rooms.
But it's warm and inviting. You know, once you walk into the doors, it's kind of the wow factor. You know, it's a very warm home.
It was specifically designed to be to be used by a family. The way it's laid out, the way the floors are for certain bedrooms, the public rooms are downstairs, where the servants' quarters are in the east end and the utility rooms. It was very a lot of thought went into this.
Go ahead.
No, it's your point. I mean, notice that it's not very spacious compared to, say, the James J. Hill house. Everything is kind of more in close to quarters, which is actually Clarence Johnson's one of his styles that he does. And he has 4 or 5 homes on Summit Avenue, and so that's generally his style, is that kind of that warmth, that home.
This is not an open floor plan. These are individual rooms. Very warm,
with very specific
jobs
for each room.
Even big rooms are cozy.
Exactly, and there's no ballroom. A lot of the big houses back then were made with ballrooms for entertaining. So you could tell that this is where the family was going to live. It wasn't just a palace for entertaining.
As you look at this house and the choices that they made, are there things that are revealed about the family and who they were?
In this new book?
Just in the structure itself and looking at the...
Well, as much as we love to say it's this warm home, it should also be pointed out too, though, the house is of a high level of expense. They built a house that was almost double the square footage a few years later. That house was still half the price of Glensheen.
That was in Washington State. It's called West Home.
The reality is that warmth that you have is by some of the best interior designers that Minnesota has ever had. And John Bradstreet, William A. French, and then you have Clarence Johnson, and so the materials that are inside the home are of incredible value. And it's what makes Glensheen so unique as a house museum.
They hired the best architects, the best interior and landscape designers. They bought the best materials. They built this to last. It's built with steel I-beams. That's one of the, they were barely building commercial buildings. It was pretty new technology for that back in the day. So you can tell this is one of the reasons it's still standing today.
Tony, the text in this book is sparse. How come?
Because I wanted to let the photographs do the talking. We weren't able, we're guessing at Edward Congdon. We weren't able to identify, because we found these. We didn't find negatives or anything like that. And you have to, the work of these professional and unprofessional photographers really tells a story that with a lot of text, they would get lost in there. They would be ancillary to the text, and really the text is just there to let you know what you're looking at, because the pictures really do speak for themselves.
It's interesting that even as homes have gotten bigger and more grandiose in recent years, people are still fascinated by Glensheen. Why is that?
I think Glensheen, even beyond the home itself, just connects to our local identity, but also our statewide identity. I mean, Chester Condon's very involved in mining. He's involved in starting the North Shore Drive. You look at Clara, she's involved in a lot of things here in town as well. And so when you go through the tour, there's a very personal connection for a lot of locals coming through the tour. In addition to it, I would just say homes like Glensheen are always going to be a fascination. You'll always have that awe factor.
Does Glensheen look much different today from it did 100 years ago?
In some parts, yes. In other parts, not much at all. And I think that's my favorite part about Tony's book.
That's the amazing thing about the book is like you can see vast differences, and you can say, we had to take a look at, in fact, we had a couple of pictures we had to take out because we realized they were from was it 1979? Because the Elizabeth, who lived there her entire life, and her mother lived there till 1950 or so. They didn't change much. Robert's room was significantly changed, wasn't it? Elizabeth used it as a painting studio,
correct.
Right? So she changed that, but otherwise they left it. They had great furniture. What would they need to replace it for?
But we only have a few more seconds. Talk about the new tours, because we want to get folks to come and see it.
So one of the things I'm kind of proud of is we've launched this new thing called the Duluthian, part of our new self-guided tour, where if Duluthians show up with their ID, they actually get a free tour if they bring a guest as part of this self-guided tour. And a lot of people are like, why are you doing a self-guided tour? Well, for a lot of Duluthians, they've been to Glensheen 5 or 6 times. They actually just want to go on their own time, take that photograph, ask the questions they want to ask guides.
Sure.
And for the last week and a half, it's been incredibly popular.
Wonderful. Dan Hartman, Tony Dierckins, thank you both very much. Boy, what a trip through history.
It's every day is a new. We're learning something new every day.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And
both.
thanks for sharing it.
All right.
Well, here's a look at some of the business stories of the week from Business North. Mediacom will add Granite Broadcasting's programs back to its cable system, allowing its area customers to watch KBJR, Range 11, and My 9 after a 10-day absence. A new contract emerged after a programming blackout that began May 31st when a prior agreement between the parties expired. Mediacom had said Granite wanted to more than double the price it received for providing its signals to the cable TV provider.
How do you grow your business in one of the toughest industries? Provide high quality on a consistent basis, according to Cindy Hayden, president of Lake Superior Port Cities, Inc., publisher of Lake Superior Magazine. Despite the challenges faced by print publications, the future is bright, she said, at a Tuesday chamber luncheon. Founded in 1979, the company has transitioned from publishing one magazine to becoming a diversified media company. Hayden said Lake Superior Port Cities produces multiple print products, book titles, and branded products, and works to be the eyes and ears of Lake Superior and its people.
The Itasca County Board has granted an unusual benefit to County Administrator Trish Herron, comp time for hours worked in excess of 80 per pay period. Board members allowed her to bank 111 hours into her vacation time and 47 into her sick leave account. The board is also letting her accumulate up to 80 hours as flex time. They defended the decision, saying there is no cost to the county, but County Auditor Jeff Walker said it could cost between $350,000 and $500,000 if overtime claims are put forth by other managers. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
Call now if you have a comment on our show. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send an email to almanacnorth@wdsc.org. You can also check out the WDSC website for updates on your favorite PBS programs, learn about events at the station, and even watch past episodes of your favorite local programs. Julie, time to get your garden in. Warm weather should be around now for quite a while.
Yeah, I'm not much of a gardener, but I did plant a few flowers and some herbs. And
I'm a flower guy, too. I like flowers.
I always thought you were.
All right. For Julie and the crew at Almanac North, I'm Dennis Anderson. We hope you have a great weekend. Good night, everybody, and be kind.